Have you ever heard of panspermia? If you haven't, it's no big deal because I'm going to explain all the weird coincidences that may make some people believe that it actually happened. Now, let's get this out of the way. This is very, very on the edge of fringe science, and so much so that it may be considered pseudoscience. But the reason being is because scientists don't like the idea that it doesn't give a origination theory. It's not about how life was created from the very, very beginning, but more so of how life was created on Earth. And with panspermia, it's basically saying some sort of alien blasted us with all the building blocks we needed to make humans in the future. Now, this idea I'm about to blast you with goes a little bit further than Earth itself, and it's more like somebody created the solar system because there's too many different things that line up and too many coincidences for me to sit here and say, yeah, no, this is all random. And we're going to go through some of those weird numbers after we get through some of the weird oddities that we had to actually go through to get here in the first place. And the first one being DNA. See, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, oh, that feels good. Feels pretty good to be able to just get that out there. It's probably wrong. Anyways, DNA is a very weird substance, and at one point in time, it just kind of popped up. And you might be like, okay, yeah, weird, strange things occur all the time where they just happen. Well, DNA can't just randomly happen. Like, the chances of it happening, I believe, is like 1 in 4 to the power of 1,000, which is like a higher number than there are atoms in the universe. It's a stupidly high statistical number, and it's an impossibility. Obviously, it could have built up on itself, and that goes into the idea of the primordial soup theory. Basically, there was enough of a concoction of weird stuff happening that RNA was built, and then there was proteins built somehow turned into DNA. Now, RNA is like the simplistic form of DNA. It's only one strand, and it's meant to carry information quickly for DNA to hold on to for a longer amount of time. Now, that was probably a bunch of bullshit if you ask somebody that deals with DNA who could explain it a whole lot better than I can. So how did we get here? Well, nobody really knows, and that's where we're going to jump into the panspermia theory. Basically, there was an alien civilization at some point in time that blasted out a bunch of DNA, which would, make it a hell of a lot easier for us to come up with a reason of how it got here, and it happened to land on Earth. But that wouldn't just do because the environment itself was not set up for DNA. Not only that, but there wasn't really a way for DNA to evolve. Now, this might blow your mind, but viruses themselves, their whole thing is to screw with DNA. And viruses are pretty weird. They're not alive. They're not dead. They don't have a metabolism. But what they do is they will jump on a cell and blast it, changing the DNA and making it grow into something different. That's what viruses do. Now, you might think, oh, viruses are terrible and we should get rid of them. If we did, we would be good for about a day. And then we're going to be dead. That's what's going to happen without viruses, because the majority of what viruses do are actually beneficial to us, such as they get rid of a ton of bacteria in the ocean that fights off the oxygen making bacteria that we have in the ocean. So much so that it wipes out 50% of the bacteria in the ocean every single day, which is good because you don't want it to overrun, take over our oxygen producing bacteria, and kill us all off. Fun fact, viruses are the reason that humans have placenta and can give live births. Yeah, we ain't just run around laying eggs to hatch. No, we give live births. And that's due to a freaking virus changing the structure of DNA. Now, with all that, that would be pretty nice to have around, saying that something helped the DNA evolve into what it is now, which is multi-celled structures like ourselves. Now, what gets really weird is whenever you start looking outside of Earth, such as at the moon, because the moon itself is pretty freaking weird. I mean, over time, we've all heard a million different theories, such as the hollow moon theory. Whenever the Apollo mission launched something at the moon, it freaking exploded, made a moonquake that resonated for like 7 minutes or 30 minutes, and they were like, oh, it sounds like a bell ringing. Well, that's because the moon is, well, they say it's not hollow, they just say it's very airy and dense, less dense and stuff like that. But we're going to pretend that the moon is not a spaceship for now. We'll just pretend that. But what it does do is it gives stability to the Earth. So the way the moon was supposedly created, to the best of our knowledge, there was a chunk of something the size of Mars that hit Earth, exploded it, made all this crap come out of it like 4.3 billion years ago, and all of that formed into the moon that we have now. But without the moon, we was spinning extremely stupidly fast, like 1,000 times faster than we are now. Not only that, but we weren't on a tilt. So what was happening was the Earth is sitting there spinning around circles, and it's just the middle part is aiming at the sun all the time. Right now we have a wobble, so we have seasons, but without that wobble in the moon, we don't. And that equator is just sitting there getting absolutely roasted, so much so that it would probably look like a volcano was going off all the time. It would just be melted rock everywhere, and then the poles are just nothing but solid ice with little tiny strips that would be habitable by humans. But that is a problem because we needed all the crap put together to evolve into what we are now. So the moon just did this awesome little thing where it slowed the Earth down, put it on a nice little wobble, and gave us the nice little tides that we have that wash up and down the shores and make us all go, oh, I'd like to spend so much money to go to the beach and get the memories and sand in my ass because I love it. But with all that being said, it's still a really weird object. It's freaking massive for the size of our planet. It's like, what, 23% the size of Earth, and it's not very dense at all, which is kind of weird considering it's made out of Earth material. But there's no other moons out there that are this size compared to their host planet. It's just odd. The moon is there, and without it we would be screwed. And that brings me around to the weird ass coincidences that are up there in the sky. So to start it all off, let's start with the number 400, which is a pretty not so unique number. It's not like pi or anything like that. It's just 400, and you'd think, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, and the moon is 400 times closer than the sun, giving us a solar eclipse. Now, that is a pretty rare phenomenon, and it's kind of unique to the Earth and moon. I think Saturn may have a moon that pulls the same stunt, but I'm not for sure on that. Now, you will hear people say, oh, it's not a total solar eclipse, but it's pretty freaking weird that the time humans can pop up and start noticing the stars, that we're pretty well lined up to have a total solar eclipse. But not only that, the moon turns approximately 400 kilometers every single day. Now, okay, that's weird. We're getting a few coincidences in here. Now people are saying, I don't even believe in coincidences, and I'm on board with that. But if you multiply that number by 100, you get how much the Earth spins every single day. Well, if you was standing on the equator and you just wrote it out and you got, measured like you're on the outside of a ball going around a circle, it would be 40,000 kilometers per day. Now, okay, we got 400 popping up an awful lot, then you just times it by 100 and you get a matching pair there. I don't know. It gets awfully freaking weird. But you know what? The universe is weird, and it just does things like that. And if you look hard enough, you can find coincidences in anything. Oh, and for good measure, the Earth rotates 400 times faster than the moon. Might as well just throw that in there too, you know what I'm saying? Now let's just move on to another number. I mean, 400, yeah, sure, whatever. Let's get into a weird number like 27.322 and the number 81. Now I know those numbers are a little bit more weird, and that's why I wanted to use them, because while 400 was pretty specific of a number, 27.322 just sounds like it could be whatever. And 81, what the hell's 81? Well, the moon orbits Earth once every 27.322 days. The moon's circumference is 27.32% of that of the Earth's. Pretty freaking weird. But not only that, Earth is 81% more dense than the moon. Okay, yeah, that doesn't really tell us anything. Well, do you know that little dwarf planet called Ceres that we've talked about here and there? Well, if you haven't, it's a very neat, unique dwarf planet out there. I think it's the 9th planet. It's in the asteroid belt, but it doesn't look like an asteroid. Now, what is so unique about Ceres? Well, number one, it's kind of almost indestructible. If a meteorite hits it or whatever, it just kind of reforms into a nice little ball. And that is very odd because the rest of the asteroids up there look like asteroid, long turds just floating around up there. But Ceres' circumference is 27.32% of what the moon's is, and not only that, but the moon is 81 times more dense than Ceres. Now, that is a pretty freaking weird coincidence, and there are tons of other numbers out there. And if you really want to get into it, Who Built the Moon by Christopher Knight and Alan Butler, they go through a lot of these different numbers, and it's a pretty interesting read. Do I believe what they said was the creator of the universe? No, because it really messes my head up, and I cannot think of it because it turns into paradoxes, but I won't spoil it for anybody that wants to read the book. Me, myself, all of these coincidences kind of add up to, yes, I feel like something could have created this universe, whether it be a god, an alien, some sort of ancient technology. I do not know, but I feel like so many different things line up in the universe that it feels weird for it to just poof appear, especially whenever you start talking about DNA and oxygen and then like the way all the planets line up and things like that. There are tons of different coincidences out there, and after a while, something's got to add up. After a while, you get to a point where it's like something may have messed with this Earth to give us life here, and I think it's very interesting. Is it true? I don't know. Did I find it cool? Yeah, I did. If you found that interesting, please consider, leaving a like or leaving a comment and telling me if you found it interesting or what your thoughts are on it. And if you liked it enough, please consider subscribing. I'd like to get to like 2 million subscribers so I could be rich and buy some Lambos. Shit. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.